Hey everybody, it's Rob here. This week we had a total of 3 developer interviews go down and we learned a ton of the changes coming to Season 11 and the near future here for Diablo. And today I want to give you a quick overview of all the changes that are coming and also my opinion on many of them. There was a third interview here from DuQ, which we will also cover. There's been some new learnings here that are pretty interesting. And we also saw the release of these Chinese Slam server here with some pretty interesting updates to some of the monsters, like turning the skeletons into like stone golems and all this kind of stuff that's coming. And we got some more hints, guys, here towards the Game Awards. Blizzard has basically announced stuff back in the days here at the 2022 Game Awards, for example. They announced the launch date for Diablo 4 in 2023. So that's going to be pretty exciting. And this Game Awards is early December, so in just 1 month from now. So let's start here with the interviews. So Rex had an interview, I had an interview, and DuQ had an interview here. And we have some of the highlights here summarized. I'm going to link this post here from Icy Veins that summarized the Korean interview. I'm unfortunately not speaking Korean, so we're going to like translate some of the stuff into English, and they did a good job here summarizing it. But I think like the main essence of the interview here is that Masterwork and Tempering are getting a bit of their power back after heavy feedback from the PTR. So we don't have any details of what exactly this means, but a lot of people were kind of worried because you lose like a ton of the power if you can't triple crit an item and upgrade the affixes on it. So it sounds like there's going to get some power back, and we also went from 2 to just 1 tempering recipe per item. So maybe they'll like crunch some numbers, or they will like, I don't know, upgrade like some of the base stats still. We'll have to see. I'm expecting like, you know, like maybe like a week before the season. So the season is scheduled to launch on December 9th, according to in-game. And we're probably going to see some more like developer updates, like I would say like a week before, like very, very early December. And then they also talked about quality of life changes here. If you're skipping the campaign, or if you're doing like some different stuff here, like basically baseline, most people skip the campaign, and then you do get all the waypoints and the full map unlocked right away. You do not have to, click every waypoint with each of your characters. So that's going to be like a very good thing, I think, for lots of people. Then I also summarized like a TLDR of my interview here on X. If you didn't have time to watch, we'll quickly go over it, and I'm going to talk some of my opinions here. So we were very worried about the class balance, but I think it was Colin who said that all classes are going to feel about 5 to 10 pit tier stronger. So we will be still very comfortable, I think, leveling up our glyphs to 100 here. Sanctification, there was 2 updates. The indestructible outcome will be gone. That means we're basically gonna brick less items. And then on top of this, they also said that items like Harlequin's Crest have basically less chance to get their unique stats like CDR remove, basically less chance of completely bricking the item, right? And then they also talked a ton about future tower rewards. This is not gonna be in Season 11, but I really like the reward structure that they plan on the tower. I think it launches with pretty much no rewards, but long term, they're gonna have like big milestones for your personal ranking. So no matter like what anyone else on the leaderboard does, you always get your personal milestone rewards. So I don't know, if you like beat the even tiers, like an example, like you beat Tower 10, you beat Tower 20, you get like a big reward. This is just your personal rank. And then you have one rank that's comparison to the rest of the players, like you rank in certain brackets, like I don't know, maybe it's a top 100, maybe it's the top 10, like going higher in the reward structure, the higher you rank in a certain bracket. So that's going to be pretty cool. And then for the Ultra Giga Chats, like for the top ranked, we're going to have exclusive titles such as Transmogs, possibly even some wings or something like that, to really, really like separate you even like visually if you are like, on the like the top ranks of this. On top of all this, guys, this ranks and everything else is also coming for solo self-found. This is not for the Season 11 launch, but a long term, they confirmed this in Rax's interview, that we're going to get a solo self-found. So you'll be able to complete like basically completely by yourself without the influence of any like party members or any outer stuff basically to your character. But then on top of this, they are also boosting a lot of like group synergies. They want to see like maybe at least some similar like group pattern and different synergies and different things that work well in group together. So I'm also very welcome this. So they are basically, doing stuff for solo players, but they're also making the group play, in my opinion, more fun. And I really like to see that overall. The inspect function is coming to the leaderboard. long term as well, not for the season launch, but it's going to come long term. And you will not be able to hide your profile, guys. Sharing is caring. I believe this is like pretty good because overall, guys, I remember how people kept the community in Diablo 3 before they added this functionality. So early on, when D3 launched its leaderboards, there was no such inspect function or anything, and it was really bad. People were hiding their gear, they were hiding potential bugs, exploits, and they were also trying to debate other people. And there was like a lot of gatekeeping in general in the community, where people on the top like would not obviously want to share their broken stuff or their findings, right? So I think long term, especially for a more casual player, it's going to be very nice if you can look at what other people are doing in a more transparent way. And even switching your profile to private is not going to change this long term. So I think this is going to be a very nice thing for the leaderboards in general and for a more, like fair competition over there, because sharing is caring. And then they talked in my interview here that the boss mods, they might turn into currency long term. They asked me this question if I had a problem with this. And I think like with the duplication stuff we had in the past, that this would be a good decision. I definitely like trading a lot. Maybe it's not the perfect decision. Let me know what you think in the comments. But it definitely fixes some of the major problems we had with this. It would basically move to your currency tab and not be tradable. This is not guaranteed to come, but they are thinking about this basically, right? And then there was a couple of more things here, like very liking this one here. Bosses will have around 60% reduced life. So all the big pit bosses, the big tower bosses, like the Seahawk being immortal, basically feeling like a damage sponge. Like all the HP is going to come down by 60%. So if you before had a 5-minute fight, which is not uncommon on the high end, that's going to go down to 2 minutes instead. So 3 minutes saved there on a 5-minute boss fight. And I think that's going to be a really good change. And overall, this applies to most bosses in the game. Like it's like from 10 to 60% HP reduced, but 60% on the high end, basically. Then they also talked about like they're going to add more useful affixes to gear, such as cooldown reduction, which is a stat that's coming on rings and gloves, and it's going to be very highly sought after, and also helps a lot of the builds, like the sorceress and other stuff, to basically reach the cooldown requirements here. Then we also have the Meltdown of Selig getting rebalanced. And I did some number crunches on this. We'll have to see how the final multiplier will look like. But I believe Colin was saying something that the resource is just going to double from the melted heart. So, instead of having I had 55,000 Fury on the PTR. So instead of having 50,000 Fury, you're going to have double. So usually you can have 300, 400 Fury or resources on a lot of classes. And that's going to mean that the multiplier is coming a lot down. For example, for the Hoda Barb, I estimated that it's going to be around pit 90. But then also keep in mind the rebalance that they will be doing with the plus 10 tiers. So the multiplier here for Ramaladi and, for example, for the Furious Hoda update is coming down from 276 at 55,000 to a ×5 and a ×5. And in the end, this is going to be quite significantly less. It's going to be about 35 pit tier nerf, and then we get a 10 tier buff again. So we're probably still going to be able to do a 100 on our Hoda bar, but obviously it's not going to be as crazy strong as on the PTR. But we'll have to see for the final numbers here. Again, I think very, very early December, we should hopefully see this, becoming a fully updated system right there. And then they also talked about the tower maps here a lot, that they will be improved heavily. Like they basically removed the super narrow, the cave layouts. They're going to get reworked. Like everything that was super narrow and super unfair, that's going to be more open, more transparent, and less fishing will be required for those ranks. And then also we addressed the perma-teleport. So basically a lot of people were very negative about the teleport stuff. So they are obviously adding more cooldown reduction on top. And they also want to keep perma-teleport in the game in some way if you invest into it more heavily. For example, with the Oculus, there's a unique weapon basically that's getting maybe a rework or something to still work and still make a perma-teleport possible. Before we talk about the Game Award stuff and the future stuff, I also want to just quickly highlight here that the Chinese server slam has released, and again in this announcement they heavily hinted towards the Game Awards, and also in my interview, we'll talk about that in a second. But the server slam announced, guys, and China is basically a fully different server from the West. This also means we're not going to have the lion's share of the Chinese players on the Western leaderboard. They're going to have kind of their own leaderboard, and they might have some extra microtransactions locations. This is like not sure yet, but they certainly do a lot of censorship over there in China. And I think they don't like any gore or any like skeletons. You can see here, these are like the skeleton archers, and they are turning into like stone men. I've seen like this is, I think, the Wandering Death boss. So he's not a Wandering Death, but he's like a wandering, like a rock / stone golem or something. So they have like quite some difference in monster models. And yeah, I'll see what else has changed. Like this server just released basically today or yesterday, depending on when you're watching this video. But in general, like there seems to be a lot of changes, and they are like only playing up to level 25 right now. But then again, the full Chinese server, guys, is also gonna be like fully released on the 12th of December. And if you are accounting for time zones, I said this before, and I specifically also asked this in my interview with the devs, where they basically said that it's going to be a very exciting time, you know, for Diablo. They said this on multiple occasions now. And Brad Gibson here in the announcement says it himself as well, that we should be looking out for other announcement on that day. And he's talking about the Chinese release server, and basically with the time zone again, the same day, guys, is gonna be the Game Awards. That's gonna be the 11th of December for us here in Europe and America, basically, which is gonna be the 12th in China. But this is basically coming parallel to the big China global Diablo 4 launch of the game, right? So I have high expectations of this. I mean, obviously, I also expected this to already happen at Gamescom, but I think it just makes, like, marketing-wise, financially, like, a lot of sense, you know, to kind of, like, go into, like, the Christmas, like, crazy sales. If they do, like, you know, like, they will probably have, like, some pre-order stuff and some different, like, packages or something, right? It just makes sense to, you know, like, go in with this, like, Christmas shopping and stuff. People are just gonna go crazy, I hope. And, I mean, hope they have a lot to announce and a ton of cool stuff coming. In the past, guys, they have revealed already the Diablo 4 launch date officially here. They had like this like a big show here. If you guys remember, like here they had like a full like announcement launch and like even a song and everything. Like it was crazy hype. And I think it's a pretty big stage to hopefully, you know, fully announce the expansion and a lot of the stuff, hopefully, that is coming. And maybe also the new class is going to be revealed here. I certainly hope so. And I think it makes the most logical sense that we're going to see this here on the big stage. Obviously, guys, because some people had some crazy expectations for these interviews that we all did here. They're not going to announce like a new class or something in an interview, guys. They're going to use a big stage, and I think they have just that big stage coming. They did it in the past, and I think it's highly likely that early December, guys, in just a month from now, we will know a lot more about Diablo 4's future. Hope you enjoyed all the interviews, guys. I'm going to link this new interview here from DoomQ below, and I will see you soon. I think lots of cool things are coming up, and I can't wait to cover it all and be there for it. Let's go, GG.